It would just depend. So the business is changing and evolving on a day-to-day basis. So it's really hard to sort of predict 2 years prior what sort of opportunities will be available. What I can say is that since the inception of the program back in 2016, we've had 100% conversion of our graduates into ongoing roles. So we've been quite successful at that. And I guess it's a little bit hard to call in terms of what opportunity. It just depends where you're interested as well. So, you may start off in one stream, but then you might find that actually you want to go to another part of the business as well. That's a little bit hard to answer. I don't know if anybody else from the CSL crew has anything else to add there, but
I'd probably just add as well, Silvana, it's not just Australia where we have opportunities in the global business as well. So one of our previous graduates ended up moving over to the UK and took a role over there because one was available. So there are opportunities, not just in the location that you're based in, there are opportunities elsewhere as well if that's something that appeals to you.
It's a good question, Lucy. So it's quite broad, really, across the business. You'll be put into projects pretty early on. They could be something like process robustness, so increasing the process robustness of a product, to managing how we change materials in the plant, to day-to-day operations. So how you can coordinate a plant team better, how you drive efficiencies in the manufacturing facility, increase yields, things like that. Manufacturing is quite diverse. You'll work a lot with like your regulatory affairs group, R&D, or your production engineers. So you're sort of in the middle of the business in the sense that you actually have to communicate with all these different teams. And that's why the work's quite diverse and hard to pin down.
Claire, did you want to jump in and add anything to that? So Claire's also had she's in manufacturing and has a lot of grads that go through her team.
Yeah, I think so. I think I've counted them up, and I've had about 8 go through my team, and I've got 3 that are currently employed within my team. So within manufacturing, we're probably working at the interface between the direct teams, which are actually making products, so putting something in a bottle, packing something into a carton, and those types of direct work. And so there's a lot of process improvement work that you get involved with. Day-to-day things. We're creating we're building new plant, and so as we get that up and running, there's often issues that occur with that plant. So there can be problem solving to actually work out what might be the best thing going forward. And there's often a lot of time pressure on that because we've got to meet our production schedule. So that's a lot of the work that grads would get involved in some of that. There's also some probably long-term projects which are a bit slower moving, and that would be because we know as we build out what we've got to come. So that's developing some of, say, the how we might work some of the material flows, looking at making sure that there's enough capability there to train out to basically when we turn the key, everyone's ready to go. So there's a bit of both that fast moving and slow work, and there's also some opportunities to lead some teams, which I think is a significant piece of work that can be really rewarding as a graduate starting out.
So what we've been successful in doing in the last few years is having some cross-functional rotations. So particularly between the manufacturing, engineering and quality streams. So I guess our supply chain part of the business, because it actually makes a lot of sense to, I guess, cross-function between those, because you actually get to diversify and see how that process runs end to end and get to really start to see some of those linkages. So Isaac, I don't know, did you rotate between quality and manufacturing, or was it just quality?
So at the time, because I was in the first year of the program, we didn't have the ability to switch between streams. But one of our main feedback was to enable that, because I think each of us had the capability of doing 2 different streams. So like an engineer can quite happily take on a manufacturing role, and a scientist can quite happily move from manufacturing into quality, and many others. That feedback has been taken, and I know that, that some of the graduates that have come through as a result have had a better experience. After doing the full quality stream, I then had a job in manufacturing, and now in operational excellence. And so it's not like the stream that you do the graduate program in becomes the rest of your career. There's always chances to move afterwards as well.
So I can say that this year, for the first time, we had one of our grads who started last year start in manufacturing, moved to quality, and is now in engineering in her last rotation. So she's gotten the whole experience, and yeah, it's something that we're really trying to ensure that we can sort of help enable as part of the graduate program.
So biggest learnings. You definitely do learn a lot. Obviously, I think it does take a month or so to settle in, obviously after uni. You know, working full time does take a bit of adjustment, especially in such a big company. But for me personally, I was definitely thrown into the deep end very early on. And that's probably where my biggest learnings came from. So as Liam mentioned earlier, like, don't be afraid to ask questions and just keep asking questions. You learn very quickly who to reach out to for help. And you also learn quickly how to prioritize when things go wrong, like especially like in engineering. Number one priority is to keep equipment up and running. So you pretty much learn how to prioritize, how to ask questions, how to get the right information that you need. So there's definitely a lot to learn at CSL.
We have an education assistance program which allows employees to take on further study. So whether that's a certificate in something all the way up to a postgraduate study like an MBA or PhD, we do offer an education assistance program which helps with that. There are some, obviously some stipulations around that, you know, in terms of needing to be a permanent employee, so it wouldn't be available to a graduate. You'd need to become a permanent employee before you were able to apply for that. There's a few other things, you know, you need to stay with the company for a certain period of time to ensure that that is paid. But we do very much encourage further education amongst employees, and we do support that as well. So there is opportunities available for any permanent employee to take advantage of.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, just from perspective, I'm actually currently working on my master's as well, and I've had a lot of support from my manager to help me work around when I'm on subjects, and so they're very manageable.
The biopharmaceutical field, we're a high-tech industry. So staying at the forefront of technology and industry is probably one of our biggest challenges. It's one of the reasons why we have a graduate program. We're looking for top talent to keep bringing us forward into the future. And it's, to me, one of the biggest challenges always going forward is making sure we have that dynamic, highly capable talent that can bring and stay at the forefront of technology, but then also unleash outcomes and turn that into real therapies for people in need.